You are here for a reason, a deeper reason that you may not have fully realized yet. The signs are everywhere, in the world around you, in the headlines you read, in the conversations you hear on the streets. But there is something that goes beyond all this, something much greater, something that was prophesied thousands of years ago. And you know this, even if unconsciously. It's like a silent voice, echoing in your heart, whispering that there is something more, something that needs to be understood. This calling is not just a coincidence, it is part of a greater plan. Have you ever felt that the world is changing in a way that seems out of control? Wars, natural disasters, pandemics, all these things are unfolding before your eyes, and the world seems more chaotic than ever. You may have tried to ignore these signs, thinking that perhaps they are isolated events, or just the way the world is. But deep down, you sense that there is a connection, that everything is intertwined, and that these changes are not random. This is where you begin to realize something even deeper. What if these events that are happening now had already been foretold? What if you were living in the midst of an era prophesied thousands of years ago? The idea may seem daunting, but at the same time, it brings a sense of clarity. You are about to discover something that will change the way you see the world forever. Imagine for a moment that you had the chance to look into the future, to understand what is to come. Wouldn't that give you an advantage, allowing you to prepare? Well, the truth is that this opportunity is already here, right now, through biblical prophecies. These ancient words carry a powerful truth, and most importantly, they have an astonishing relevance to what is happening in our world today. You know that the four horsemen of the apocalypse mentioned in Revelation 6:1-8 are not just distant symbols, vague figures of destruction and chaos. They represent forces that are already at work, shaping the world as we know it. But what does this mean for you, for your life, for your future? You are about to find out. And don't think that all of this boils down to destruction and loss. In fact, there is a message of hope hidden within the prophecies. For those who are spiritually prepared, there is a promise of divine protection. And you could be one of those people. You could be among those who will not only survive but thrive amid difficulties because you will be anchored in faith and in God's promises. Now, take a deep breath and prepare yourself, because what you are about to learn in the next few minutes may completely transform your view of the world. You will understand the signs of the times. You will see the prophecies unfolding right before your eyes. And, more importantly, you will know what you need to do to prepare for what is to come. Throughout history, many generations have waited for the end times. But never before have the signs been so clear, so evident. You know somehow that something big is about to happen. It is not just a feeling, it is a reality that is rapidly approaching. Each global event, each crisis, feels like a piece of a larger puzzle, and this puzzle is finally taking shape. You may be wondering, why me? Why am I living in this specific moment in history? The answer may be unsettling, but it can also bring profound peace and purpose. You were chosen to be here, to live in this time, not by chance, but because there is something you need to do. You have a role to play. And this journey you are beginning now will give you the tools to understand exactly what that role is. Perhaps you have already felt it, a need to prepare, to be ready for something that is yet to come. It is as if your spirit knows that a great change is on the horizon, and this feeling won't go away. And you are right. There is a reason for this persistent feeling. The world as we know it is at a crossroads, and the decisions you make now can impact your future in unimaginable ways. As you continue to listen, you will realize that prophecies are not just ancient stories written in a sacred book. They are guides for the future, a map that reveals what is to come, and more importantly, how you can prepare. And this is not just about surviving difficulties. It is about thriving amid them. Because those who have the knowledge and wisdom to recognize the signs will be ready for whatever comes. You have heard about the Four Horsemen, right? War, famine, pestilence, and death. They are not just metaphors, they are manifestations of forces that are already operating in the world today. War is everywhere. The rise of hunger is undeniable. Pandemics sweep entire nations, and death seems to lurk around every corner. But this is not the end of the story. There is something more that you need to understand, something that will empower you to face these times with courage and conviction. Each of these horsemen represents a part of a greater plan, a plan that is unfolding before your eyes. But what many people do not know is that even amid these destructive forces, there is an opportunity for spiritual growth, for transformation. And you, more than anyone, can be part of that transformation. You can be one of those who not only recognize the signs, but who are also prepared for what comes next. Think about it. What if you could position yourself not only to survive the challenges, but to prosper spiritually, emotionally, and even physically? That is possible, and the prophecies hold the keys to that. All you need to do is be willing to open your mind and your heart to what God is revealing. Time is running out. This is not a threat, but a fact. You feel it, don't you? Things are changing rapidly, and what once seemed stable is crumbling. But you don't need to be afraid. In fact, this is the perfect moment to strengthen yourself, to prepare, to build a foundation that will be unshakable, regardless of what comes. You are not alone on this journey. You are part of something much greater than you imagine. And as you open your eyes to the signs of the times, you begin to realize that life has never been just about day-to-day survival. There is a higher purpose, something that transcends everything you see and experience. This is the moment to prepare not only physically but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Have you ever wondered what it really means to be spiritually prepared? It's not just a matter of believing in something, but of living that faith in every aspect of your life. It's like building a house on a solid rock, as Jesus taught. When the storms come, when the strong winds beat against it, that house remains firm, unshakable. And your faith needs to be like that, a solid rock that sustains you in the most difficult moments. The truth is that turbulent times are not just challenges, they are tests. They are opportunities for you to prove your faith, to grow, to become stronger. With each crisis that arises, you have the chance to draw closer to God, to trust more deeply in His promises. And by doing this, you will discover a strength you may not have even known you possessed. This spiritual preparation is not something that happens overnight. It's a journey, a series of steps you take every day. And the first of these steps is recognition. You need to recognize the signs of the times, the prophecies that are being fulfilled. You need to understand that we are not living in ordinary times. Each global event, each disaster, each crisis points to something greater, something that was foretold long ago. When you look at the world today, it is impossible to ignore the signs. Wars are multiplying, hunger is on the rise, diseases emerge without warning, and death seems closer than ever. But despite all this darkness, there is a shining light. And that light is the promise of salvation, the promise that those who are prepared will be protected. You feel this urgency, don't you? A need to act, to do something before it's too late. And this feeling is not in vain. It is a reflection of the spiritual reality unfolding before you. Each passing day is an opportunity to strengthen your faith, to prepare for what is to come. As you continue this journey, you will realize that spiritual preparation is not just about praying and reading the scriptures, although those are important parts. It's also about how you live your daily life. How do you treat the people around you? How do you react to difficulties? How do you maintain your faith in the face of challenges? Each of these things is part of your preparation. And don't be deceived. Challenges will arise. The world will not become easier or more predictable. In fact, times of uncertainty are still ahead, but you don't need to fear, because your faith, if rooted in God's promises, will be enough to guide you through any storm. Now, you have begun to open your eyes to the reality around you. But there is much more to understand. The signs of the times are not just isolated events. They are part of a pattern, a design that has been revealed in biblical prophecies. To fully understand what is happening in the world today, you need to comprehend this pattern, this great plan. You have heard about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, haven't you? These horsemen are powerful symbols, representing forces that are already at work in the world. But they are not just distant figures, portraits of destruction. Each horseman has a specific message, a lesson you need to understand to prepare for what is to come. The first horseman, riding on a white horse, is often associated with conquest. But his conquest is not a positive one. He represents deceit, manipulation, and falsehood that permeate the world. Have you noticed how the truth seems increasingly difficult to find? How people are being deceived by false promises, by leaders who do not fulfill what they say. This horseman is at work, and you need to be vigilant not to fall into his traps. The second horseman, on the red horse, brings war. And wars are everywhere. You might think wars are something distant, happening in countries far from yours. But wars are closer than you imagine. They may not always be physical wars. Sometimes they are ideological wars, spiritual wars, internal wars within each of us. This horseman is sowing division and conflict, and you need to be prepared to resist this destructive force. The third horseman, on the black horse, represents hunger. Hunger is not just the lack of physical food, it is also spiritual hunger. People are starving for meaning, for purpose, for something to nourish their souls. And this hunger is increasing. You can see it around you. More and more people feel empty, unsatisfied, even when they have everything materially. This horseman is revealing a deep need that only God can fulfill. The fourth horseman, on the pale horse, is death itself. And death is present everywhere. It may seem frightening, but for those who have faith, death is not the end. It is merely a passage to something greater. This horseman reminds you of the brevity of life, of the urgency of being spiritually prepared, because no one knows the day or the hour they will be called. Now that you better understand the four horsemen, you can see how their influences are shaping the world today. But more importantly, you can also see how it is possible to resist these forces. You do not have to be a victim of these horsemen. On the contrary, you can position yourself as someone who is prepared, as someone who is spiritually strong and unshakable. And this brings us to a fundamental truth. Your faith is your greatest weapon. No matter how strong the horseman may be, no matter how difficult the world becomes, you have something that can overcome all of this. Your connection with God, your trust in His promises. Now that you understand the signs of the times, you can begin to see the hope that is hidden amid all this turbulence. Yes, the world is going through difficult times. Yes, the challenges are great. But you don't have to face it all alone. God has promised that those who are spiritually prepared, those who trust in Him, will be protected. This protection does not mean that you will never face difficulties, but it means that when difficulties come, you will have an inner strength, a peace that transcends all understanding. You will be anchored in something much greater than any circumstance. You will be anchored in the promises of God. Have you noticed how some people seem unshakable, even when the world around them is crumbling? These people have something special. They have a faith that cannot be shaken, a deep trust that comes from knowing that God is in control, no matter what is happening around them. You can be one of those people. In fact, you are being called to be one of those people. The fact that you are hearing this now, that you are seeking understanding, is a sign that God is working in your life. He is preparing you for something greater, something that goes beyond the difficulties of the moment. And this preparation starts now, with your understanding of the prophecies, the signs of the times, and the promise of divine protection. Have you ever felt the presence of something greater, a force that seems to guide you amid the chaos? That force is the hand of God, and when you fully trust Him, that divine protection becomes tangible. It does not remove all challenges, but it strengthens you to face them in ways you never imagined possible. Now that you understand the signs, it is important to grasp what it means to live under that divine protection. This does not mean just passively waiting for God to save you from every adversity. On the contrary, it is an active partnership. God has given you powerful tools, and one of them is the discernment to see beyond what is on the surface. You are now, more than ever, in a unique position to prepare, spiritually, emotionally, and even physically, for what is to come. Think for a moment. Amid all the chaos you see in the world, how can you be a light to others? How can you become a source of peace and stability when everything seems to crumble? The answer lies in your faith, in your willingness to trust in God's promises. Remember that, in the midst of the storm, Jesus calmed the waters. That same peace is available to you. But it's not just about waiting for the problems to disappear. True preparation is internal, a transformation that starts in your heart and mind. Often people think that biblical prophecies are only about what is to come, but what they do not realize is that these prophecies also have a direct impact on how you live now. They invite you to live with more purpose, to connect more deeply with God, and to seek in Him the strength and wisdom you need to navigate uncertain times. You feel this urgency in your heart, don't you? A need to align more deeply with the divine plan, to be part of the solution, to be someone who not only recognizes the signs, but also acts with faith and determination. That feeling is not by chance. It is a calling, and this calling is for everyone willing to listen. But there is something special about you, something that has brought you here. You have been chosen to hear this message and, more importantly, to act upon it. This is your opportunity to prepare, not just for yourself, but also for those around you who do not yet have the same level of understanding. If you have ever stopped to think about why some seem so unprepared for life's challenges, the answer lies in a lack of spiritual vision. Many people live as if the world will remain the same forever, as if everything is just a sequence of random events. But you know better. You can see what many cannot, and that is what places you in a unique position to prepare correctly. Preparing spiritually is not something that happens overnight. It is a journey, and like any journey, there will be moments of doubt, times when you will question whether you are on the right path. But the beauty of this journey is that with each step, you are approaching a greater truth. You are moving closer to a deeper connection with God, and that strengthens you. You may be wondering, how can I know if I am spiritually prepared? The answer is simple yet profound. If you are seeking understanding, if you are trying to live your life according to Christ's teachings, if you are opening yourself to what God wants to show you, then you are already on the right path. And that path is transformative. Every prayer you make, every moment you connect with God, is one step closer to being fully prepared. The key is to keep going. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how uncertain the times may seem, you must keep moving forward. Because with every step you take, your faith grows stronger, your vision broadens, and your spiritual preparation becomes increasingly solid. Many people hope that spiritual preparation is something that simply happens. But you know that is not the case. It requires effort, intentionality, and most importantly, it requires faith. Faith that, even when you don't have all the answers, God is guiding your steps. Faith that, even when the challenges seem too great, He is greater. You realize, don't you, that this spiritual preparation is not just about protecting yourself from the difficult times to come. It is about growing, transforming, becoming the person God has called you to be. It is about living with a greater purpose, with a mission that goes beyond yourself. And this mission is essential. You were not placed here just to survive turbulent times. You were placed here to be a light, a guide, a voice pointing to the truth, especially when so many are lost. Throughout the centuries, biblical prophecies have been misinterpreted, ignored, and even ridiculed. But you are beginning to see their true value. The prophecies are not just vague predictions about the future. They are clear guidelines on how to live now. They are a gift from God to those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. Each of the prophecies you are studying gives you a new perspective on what is happening in the world. They show you that nothing you see in the news is by chance. There is no chaos without purpose. There is a divine order in all of this, even if it is not visible at first glance. Have you ever wondered why so many people seem to be ignoring the signs? Why, even with so many disasters, wars, and crises, is there still a feeling that everything will go back to normal? This happens because many people are not spiritually awake. They cannot see beyond the physical world. But you can. You have been called to see beyond, to understand what many cannot. And that gives you a responsibility. Not a burden to carry alone, but a responsibility to share what you know, to be a voice of warning, and more importantly, a voice of hope. Because even amid all the prophecies of difficulties, there is always a message of hope. God's promises are clear. Those who trust in Him, who follow His ways, will be protected. They will find peace in the midst of the storm. They will be secure no matter what happens around them. And this brings us to a fundamental question. How can you live these promises? How can you anchor yourself in these truths so that they become real in your life? Now that you understand the signs and the prophecies, it is time to live these promises in your daily life. This means cultivating an active faith, a trust that manifests in every aspect of your life. It is not a passive faith that merely waits for the best. It is a living faith that acts, that makes choices based on the truths you know. Every day is a new opportunity for you to align your life with God's promises. This means choosing peace over fear. It means choosing hope over despair. And above all, it means choosing to trust in God, even when the world around you seems to be crumbling. When you do this, you position yourself in a place of strength, not only for yourself, but for those around you. Because the world is full of people who are lost, confused, and afraid. But you do not have to be one of them. You have the opportunity to be different. You have the chance to be an anchor amid the storm. And by living this way, you are preparing not only yourself, but also paving the way for others to follow your example. Every action you take from now on carries greater weight. You are living in a time where spiritual discernment is essential, and how you respond to the challenges of the world around you determines the depth of your faith. God's promises are not just words written. They are alive and true, and you are called to anchor yourself in them with every choice you make. When you choose to live these promises, you notice that your behavior, your attitudes, and even your thoughts begin to change. The fear and uncertainty that once dominated your decisions start to give way to trust. You know that, no matter how chaotic the world seems, there is a greater plan at work, a plan that you are starting to understand more deeply each day. As you realize this, your life begins to reflect this truth more clearly. You become stronger, more resilient. Difficulties will still come. After all, the world continues to face its challenges, but they will not have the same effect on you. Because, unlike many, you are prepared. And not just prepared to survive, but to thrive spiritually amid the storm. Remember that God does not call you just to understand the prophecies and the signs of the times. He calls you to live according to them, to be a living example of unwavering faith. You are called to demonstrate, through your actions, that it is possible to trust in the divine plan, even when everything seems to be crumbling around you. This means that you are also called to be a beacon for others. Those around you who are living in fear and uncertainty need to see someone who is anchored in God's promises. They need to see that even amid chaos, there is a way to live in peace, a way to find hope and stability. And this is the beauty of living out God's promises. You are not just preparing for what is to come, but also becoming an instrument of transformation for others. When they look at you, they will see someone who is not being swept away by the tide of pessimism and fear that dominates the world. They will see someone who is firm, confident, and secure in the promises of a God who never fails. But living this confidence requires daily practice. This means that you need to continue strengthening your faith, seeking understanding more and more, and dedicating yourself to prayer and reflection. You are on a continuous journey of spiritual growth, and the more you grow, the more prepared you will be to face whatever comes. This spiritual preparation reflects in all areas of your life. Think, for example, about the small choices you make every day. How do you react to the news you hear? How do you treat the people around you? How do you maintain your inner peace when confronted with unexpected challenges? Each of these things is part of your preparation journey, and this preparation is not just for you. It is for others as well. God has placed you in a position of influence, whether large or small. You have the power to impact those around you with your faith. You have the ability to show, through your example, that there is a different way to live, a way that is rooted in the eternal truths of the Word of God. Now that you understand the value of living the promises, let's talk about how to cultivate that inner peace, which is so crucial in the times we live in. This peace is something the world cannot give. It comes directly from God and is a gift for those who trust in Him completely. Often, people associate peace with an absence of conflict or difficulty. But true peace, the peace that comes from God, is not affected by external circumstances. It is deep, constant, and unshakable. And it is exactly this peace that you are called to seek. You may be wondering, how can I have this peace when the world around me is in turmoil? The answer lies in your connection with God. The closer you draw to Him, the more this peace becomes a part of your life. And this doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means that when they arise, you will know that God is in control. Prayer is a powerful tool in this process. When you dedicate yourself to prayer, you are strengthening your connection with the Creator, opening space for Him to speak to your heart and bring the calm you need. Each moment of prayer is a step closer to that inner peace, because you are surrendering your fears, worries, and doubts to someone who has the power to take care of all of that. Moreover, inner peace is also linked to your perspective. When you look at the world through the lens of faith, you realize that everything happening is part of a greater plan. You begin to see beyond the immediate chaos and perceive the purpose behind things. You understand that even in the midst of difficulties, God is working for the good of those who love Him. And this perspective changes everything. Because instead of being consumed by fear of the future, you start to see each challenge as an opportunity to grow, to trust more deeply in God. You know that nothing can shake you, because your life is firmly anchored in His eternal promises. Have you ever wondered how some people manage to stay calm amid life's greatest storms? They have found that inner peace that comes from God, and the same is available to you. It is within your reach. All you need to do is seek it by dedicating yourself to strengthening your faith and your connection with the Creator. This peace, when truly cultivated, becomes visible to others. The people around you will notice that there is something different about you. They will see that even when the world seems to be in turmoil, you remain calm, confident, unshakable. And this will be a powerful testimony of your faith. Trusting in God's plan is one of the most important aspects of your spiritual journey. Often we want to control everything, to know what will happen, how things will unfold, and to be certain that we will be safe. But true faith requires you to relinquish that control to God, trusting that He knows what is best. Now that you understand the signs of the times, you know that the world is heading toward challenging moments. But at the same time, you can rest in the assurance that God has a plan that is greater than anything you can imagine, and that is being perfectly executed, even if you don't see all the details. Trusting in this plan means letting go of the need to understand everything. It means accepting that sometimes you won't have all the answers, but that's okay. Because God has all the answers, and He is guiding every step of the way. Trusting in God's plan also brings freedom. When you don't have to worry about the future, when you are not bound by fear of what may happen, you are free to live fully in the present. And it is here, in the present, that you can make the greatest difference. As you delve deeper into understanding the prophecies and God's plan, you begin to realize that total trust in God is the key to living with peace and purpose, especially in times of uncertainty. The world around you may seem confusing and chaotic, but within you, there is a profound knowledge that God is in control. And it is in that place of trust that you find your true strength. Trusting in God means handing over not just your fears and worries, but also your hopes and dreams. It is allowing Him to guide your life, knowing that, regardless of what may happen, you are secure in His hands. God never abandons you, even when everything seems uncertain. He sees you, knows you, and understands exactly what you need, long before you ask. You now understand that this trust is not something you achieve once and for all. It is a daily exercise, a continuous choice. And the more you practice this trust, the stronger it becomes. It starts in the small things, trusting that God will provide, that He will take care of your needs, that He is with you in moments of doubt. And over time, this trust grows to encompass every aspect of your life. The Bible tells us that without faith, it is impossible to please God. But you have already begun to walk this path of faith. You have chosen to seek the truth, understand the prophecies, and prepare for what is to come. And now, you are ready to take the next step, to live this trust fully, allowing it to guide each of your decisions. When you live this way, something extraordinary happens. Your life becomes a reflection of the peace and security you have found in God. Others start to notice. They see in you a person who is not living in fear, but in confidence and hope. And this trust, this hope, is contagious. It draws the attention of everyone around you, because it is something that is lacking in today's world. This is what makes you an instrument in God's hands. He did not give you this understanding just for you to prepare alone, but for you to be a beacon for others. You have been called to share this truth, to help others see beyond the chaos and find peace amid the storm. God wants to use you to reach those who are still living in fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Therefore, it is important that you continue seeking to grow in faith. No matter how far you have come, there is always more to learn, more to understand. God is continually revealing His truths, and you are part of that process. By strengthening your faith, you are also empowering yourself to help others strengthen theirs. Now, as the world moves toward challenging times, you are ready. You have the spiritual tools necessary to face anything that comes your way. Your faith is anchored in God's promises. And more importantly, you have the heart of someone who fully trusts in the divine plan, knowing that in all things, God is working for the good of those who love Him. This trust will give you the strength to stand firm, no matter what happens. It will allow you to live with purpose, with peace, and with an unshakable hope that the future is in the hands of the Creator. And as you continue this journey, God will be with you every step of the way, guiding you, protecting you, and preparing you for all that is to come. If you are seeking to understand more deeply what God is doing in the world today and want to learn how to live with faith and confidence in challenging times, join us. We explore essential themes about biblical prophecies, the signs of the times, and how you can prepare spiritually and emotionally for what is to come. Don't miss this opportunity to strengthen your faith and share this journey with us. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming videos.